Hello students, welcome to BioBean channel. We will discuss about differences between plant cell and animal cell in this video. So this is plant cell and this is animal cell. Plant cell, animal cell differences. We have to study first difference, that is plant cell have cell wall as their outermost covering, while animal cell do not have cell wall. So you can see this is cell wall which is present only in the plant cell. Cell wall is the outermost covering which protects the plant cell. Animal cell do not have cell wall. And the second layer which is present in the plant cell is plasma membrane or cell membrane. It is the second layer in the plant cell, and in the animal cell it is the outermost layer. And one more big difference of the plant cell with the animal cell is plant cell have fixed shape, but animal cell shape varies, they change. Then coming to nucleus, the nucleus is not present exactly at the center in the plant cell because of a big vacuole. It is slightly away from the center. In the animal cell, the nucleus is present in the center of the cell. Vacuole is present only in the plant cell. In the animal cell, vacuoles are usually absent. And there are some green pigments which are present only in the plant cell. They are called chloroplast. Chloroplast is a structure or a cell organelle which helps in photosynthesis because of the pigments called chlorophyll present in the plants. So plants have the capacity of preparing food, while in animal cell you do not see chloroplast. Chloroplasts are completely absent in the animal cell. And one more is, you can find centriole only in the animal cell, but centrioles are absent in the plant cell. Mitochondria are more in number in the animal cell, but mitochondria are less in number in the plant cell. And these are all some differences between plant cell and animal cell. You can just post any doubts in the comment box and then we'll get the answer. Hello students, now we will discuss about what is the cell made up of and what is the structural organization of the cell. So when you observe under the microscope, the cell contains three common features, whether it's a plant cell or animal cell. That is, almost you can find the outermost layer, that is plasma membrane or cell membrane, as well as nucleus and cytoplasm as the common features of the cell. Let us study now the structure of plasma membrane or cell membrane. So plasma membrane or cell membrane is the outermost covering of the cell. We have seen that in the plant cell there is outermost covering cell wall. The next layer is plasma membrane. But in the animal cell, plasma membrane is the outermost covering. So now this plasma membrane is selectively permeable. It means that it allows or permits the entry as well as exit of some of the materials in and out of the cell. And this movement of the materials, sometimes they are not allowed. So it's called as selectively permeable type of membrane. Then how does this movement of substance takes place into the cell as well as move out of the cell? Let us take one example, like movement of substances like carbon dioxide and oxygen from the cell. So this movement of carbon dioxide and oxygen of the cell moves particularly by a process called diffusion. Diffusion is a process where the movement of molecules or ions from the higher concentration to the region of lower concentration, they travel. Example, you take a cell. If this is a cell where carbon dioxide is more produced inside the cell, and outside in the atmosphere the carbon dioxide is very less. So from the higher concentration it moves outside to the atmosphere, that is lower concentration. You take oxygen. Oxygen is present more in the atmosphere and less inside the cell as it is utilized. So from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration, automatically oxygen moves through the diffusion. The next, there is one more process called as osmosis. Osmosis is a type of process where you can find the movement of water molecules from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration takes place. We have example like unicellular freshwater organisms as well as plants absorb water through osmosis. Then what is the difference between diffusion and osmosis? Diffusion is molecules or ions moves from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration. But when we come to osmosis, it is also a type of diffusion. But here there is selectively permeable membrane, that is plasma membrane. It allows only water molecules to pass through. And now we have to study types of solutions. So in order to know how the cell behaves, we have to study three types of solutions. One is hypotonic, isotonic, hypertonic. What is hypotonic? When a cell, imagine this is a cell, we have kept this cell in the water. This is pure water. This is nucleus. So when a cell is kept in the pure water, there is slight entry of water into the cell because it contains higher concentration of water molecules. They enter into the cell because cell do not contain higher concentration of water. It contains some solutes. So there will be less water. So higher concentration to the region of lower concentration, water enters inside. So cell swells. And this type of solution is called hypotonic solution. Then when a cell is kept again in the water, when you see that first initially there is entry of water and cell get swollen. Already we have studied here. And after some time this water will not enter inside further and the water will stop entering the cell, and such type of solution is called isotonic, where there is no movement of water inside the cell or outside the cell. Such type of solution is called isotonic. And one more is hypertonic. Whenever a cell is kept in a solution containing more solutes, here there is solutes added to this one like sugar or salt. Whenever salt or sugar is dissolved in this water, then it becomes a solution. When a cell is kept in this, there is less water outside and inside the cell there is more water. So from the region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration, water moves out of the cell and the cell becomes shrink. And this type of solution is called hypertonic. So in general we can say hypotonic, the cell when it is kept, there is entry of water from the outer medium to the cell. In the isotonic, there is no movement of water either inside or outside of the cell. Hypertonic, there is always movement of water from the cell towards the outer medium. So these are the three types of solutions which we have to study, so that there is a movement of, we can understand the movement of water either from the cell to the outer medium or from the outer medium to the inner medium. Then we observe the structure of plasma membrane. The plasma membrane is flexible. It contains lipids as well as proteins as a part of the structure. Now finally we come to the functions of plasma membrane. The plasma membrane helps in exchange of gases, as we studied, carbon dioxide as well as oxygen. Plasma membrane helps in absorption of water, so by the roots as well as from cell to cell. Plasma membrane also helps in nutrition, getting food from the outer medium. That is, example, you take amoeba. Amoeba helps, or amoeba takes or engulfs the food and other material into the cell from the outer medium. It's called as endocytosis. Endo refers for inside, cyto refers for cell, and eating. Commonly it's called as cell eating. This is about the cell membrane or plasma membrane. Coming to cell wall. Cell wall, the plant cells, in addition to the cell membrane, they have outermost rigid covering called cell wall. The cell wall is very hard and it is made up of cellulose in the plant cells, and this gives the structural strength to the plants to withstand from high temperature as well as desiccation, to avoid desiccation. And the cells also undergo plasmolysis. So we have to understand first what is plasmolysis. When a living cell is kept in the hypertonic solution, we have studied already osmosis. We have drawn cell wall here. Living plant cell loses water through osmosis. There is shrinkage or contraction of the content of the cell away from the cell wall. This is called as plasmolysis. Example, when the water moves outside from the cell, there is slowly shrinkage of protoplasm. This shrinkage of protoplasm, that is away from the cell wall, is called as plasmolysis. And this plasmolysis makes the cell content to become smaller. And again, when the cell is kept in hypertonic solution, then the cell gain water and the water moves inside and the cell becomes turgid. So the plants, fungi and bacteria gets protected from cell bursting when they are kept in dilute hypertonic solution. The cell swells, build up the pressure against the cell wall, and the cell wall applies an equal pressure against the swollen cell. And because of their walls, such cells can withstand much greater changes in the surrounding medium than animal cells. So this is about the cell wall. About nucleus. Nucleus is a double layered covering which is called as nuclear membrane. So we have outer nuclear membrane and inner nuclear membrane. So this is nuclear membrane. You can also find a structure called nucleolus, and there is a thread-like structure called chromatin. And this is nuclear pore, which allows the material to pass from the cytoplasm to inside the nucleus, from the nucleus to the cytoplasm. So the nuclear membrane has pores which allow the transfer of material from inside the nucleus to outside, that is to the cytoplasm. The nucleus also contains chromosomes which are visible as a rod-shaped structures when the cell is about to divide. And this thread-like structure undergoes condensation to form a structure called chromosome. And these rod-shaped structures can be seen only the cell is dividing. And these chromosomes contain information for the inheritance of the characters from the parents to the offsprings. That is, from the parents to the children's. And you can see there is a DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid. We call it as DNA. So this DNA is nothing but it is the character storage in the form of thread-like structure. And chromosomes composed of DNA and protein. So you can see here inside there will be DNA coupled with protein. These rod-shaped structures are visible only during the cell division. DNA molecules contains the information necessary for constructing the cells as well as organizing the cells. The functional segments of the DNA are called genes. So here the functional part of the DNA is called gene. Gene is nothing but a character. So here DNA contains a functional part, a small part of DNA which express character is called genes. In a cell which is not dividing, the DNA is present in the form of chromatin material, thread-like material, which we call it as chromatin material, and it is visible as an entangled mass of thread-like structure. So we have seen here thread-like structure that is called as chromatin. So when the cell is not dividing, you can see like this. When the cell is dividing, you can see the rod-shaped structure called chromosomes. So here the nucleus plays an important role for the cellular reproduction, and it also helps in cell division to form one cell to two new cells, and it also plays a crucial part along with the environment and in determining the way of the cell, how it develops, and it directs the chemical activities of the cell. So everything is present in the nucleus. So nucleus controls all the activities of the cell. When you observe bacteria, the nuclear part is poorly developed, and here you cannot find nuclear membrane. When you take bacteria, this is a bacterial cell, the nuclear part is not covered by nuclear membrane. You can find only the thread-like structures can be seen. That is, nucleic acids are naked. They are not covered with the nuclear membrane. So such organisms who lack the nuclear membrane are called prokaryotes. Prokaryotes are the cells where the nuclear membrane is completely absent, and the DNA which is naked is called as nucleoid. So nucleoid is the naked DNA, and the cell which has such type of nucleoid is called as prokaryotic or prokaryotes. So organisms which we call prokaryotes also lack most of the cell organelles, which or cytoplasmic organelles. Many of the functions of such organelles are also performed by poorly developed organelles of the cytoplasm. The chlorophyll in photosynthetic prokaryotic bacteria is also associated with membranous vesicles-like structures, but not plastids, as we have seen in the eukaryotic organisms. So eukaryotes have plastids as well developed photosynthetic organs, but prokaryotes do not have such type of well developed plastid. Instead, they have some membranous vesicles as a structures which helps for photosynthesis. Next, we study about cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is the fluid content inside the plasma membrane. When you observe the cell, this is the nucleus. So this is cell membrane, nucleus, and this is called as cytoplasm. So cytoplasm is a fluid content inside the plasma membrane. It also contains many specialized cell organelles which perform specific function for the cell. So you can find cell organelles here. And the cell organelles are enclosed by membranes. You observe in prokaryotes where there is a nuclear membrane also not covered by, nucleus not covered by nuclear membrane, and they also lack cell organelles which are membrane bound. So we'll come to know what is the importance of membrane bound cell organelles. When you observe the significance in the viruses, viruses do not have this membrane bound cell organelles. Because of that, they are depend upon the living cells for their development or for their growth or for multiplication. So until they infect a living cell, they cannot multiply because they lack any membranes in the cell. But actually we cannot call it as cell also because they do not behave like a completely living cell. So it is neither living nor non-living. So let us discuss now more about the cytoplasmic cell organelles one by one. Cell organelles. The cytoplasm contains nucleus, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, mitochondria, plastids, vacuoles. These are all cell organelles which we have already discussed about nucleus. Next we will discuss about endoplasmic reticulum. These cell organelles always have a membrane bound structure, and we know that is very important because they have to separate their content from the cytoplasm, as they are very important and play an important role in cell functioning, cell working. So these independently we have to study each one. We have already discussed nucleus. Now we come to the discussion of endoplasmic reticulum. We have seen endoplasmic is present in the cell in the form of network. So there is nucleus. Surrounding the nucleus, the outer membrane continues and forms a network-like structure that is called endoplasmic reticulum. It's a membrane-bound cell organelle where you can find tubes as well as in the form of vesicles, bag-like structures. So vesicles are formed by the endoplasmic reticulum. And when you see the structure, it is exactly similar to the plasma membrane. There are mainly two types of endoplasmic reticulum. When we observe, the endoplasmic reticulum is mainly of two types. This is one type which we call as smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So another type you can find where ribosomes are present. This is called as rough endoplasmic reticulum. So here you can find two types of endoplasmic reticulum. One is called as a rough endoplasmic reticulum, the other is smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So rough endoplasmic reticulum looks rough because of the presence of ribosomes, and in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum there is no ribosomes. And whenever ribosomes are present, this rough endoplasmic reticulum helps in synthesis of proteins. So proteins are prepared in the rough endoplasmic reticulum. When you observe smooth endoplasmic reticulum where this proteins or ribosomes are completely absent, they help in synthesis of fat molecules or lipids. Rough endoplasmic reticulum helps in the preparation of proteins, and smooth endoplasmic reticulum helps in the preparation of fats or lipids. Some of these proteins as well as lipids help in building the cell membrane, and we call this process as membrane biogenesis. So here, these proteins as well as lipids helps in preparation of membrane. It's called as membrane biogenesis. So here, proteins as well as lipids are used. Some other proteins as well as lipids also functions as enzymes as well as hormones. Sometimes they are also used as enzymes as well as hormones. These are the functions of endoplasmic reticulum. So the endoplasmic reticulum varies greatly in appearance in different cells. It always forms a network-like system. One function of endoplasmic reticulum is to serve as a channel for the transportation of materials between various cytoplasmic contents like nucleus to cytoplasm, cytoplasm to nucleus. ER also functions as a cytoplasmic framework, providing a surface area as a network to the cell. So in the liver cells of the vertebrates, you can see the smooth endoplasmic reticulum plays a crucial role in detoxifying many poisons as well as drugs. So, next is Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus was first discovered by Camillo Golgi, and it consists of membrane-bound organelles arranged approximately parallel to each other in stacks, which we call it as cisternae. These membranes often have connections to the endoplasmic reticulum, membranes of the endoplasmic reticulum. Therefore, they constitute a portion of cellular membranous system. And the functions include storage. Whatever there is synthesis of the endoplasmic reticulum, the product is stored, and even it is modified and packed into vesicles. Here, it is believed that some of the simple sugars are converted into complex sugars. And finally, the Golgi apparatus also has the function of forming lysosomes, which we discuss later. What are lysosomes? And thus, Golgi apparatus helps in packaging the materials from the endoplasmic reticulum to the other parts of the cell. Lysosomes. Lysosomes are a kind of waste disposal system of the cell. This has a capacity to digest foreign particles which enter inside, as well as the harmful food substances or worn out or damaged cell organelles. As this lysosome contain powerful digestive enzymes, they can kill their own cell. They can kill or digest the cell organelles which are damaged. These digestive enzymes are produced by rough endoplasmic reticulum, and this, as they have the capacity to digest the cell organelles or the whole cell, it's called as suicide bags of cell. Mitochondria is commonly called as powerhouse of the cell because the mitochondria has a capacity to produce or generate energy currency of a cell, that is ATP. So ATP refers for adenosine triphosphate. So ATP is the energy currency of the cell. So if the cell has to do work, then it requires energy, that is in the form of ATP, and that is produced by mitochondria. Mitochondria has two membranes. The outer membrane is porous and the inner membrane is deeply folded so that it can increase the area of production for ATP. And it also has its own DNA and ribosomes than even you can find in the nucleus. Like nucleus, it has its own DNA and ribosomes, so it can prepare the protein required for the mitochondria. So thus mitochondria is commonly known as powerhouse of the cell. Plastids are present only in the plant cells, as they are the only photosynthetic organ of the plants. And there are two types of plastids. The one which is colored is called chromoplast, And the colorless plastid is called leucoplast. The chromoplast, which is colored, may be green in color. If the plastids are green in color, then it's called as chloroplast. So chloroplast is green in color, and pigment present in the chloroplast called chlorophyll. It can help in photosynthesis. With the chlorophyll, green pigment, the plant may also have yellow or orange pigments in the chloroplast. When you observe the structure of the chloroplast contain a cytoplasm-like structure called stroma, where there are membrane-bound structures are present. They are called grana. And this chloroplast is also a two-membrane structure, that is outer plastidial membrane, inner plastidial membrane. Inside you can find the tissue which is called stroma, and there are plate-like structures called grana. Like mitochondria, the chloroplast also has its own DNA as well as ribosomes, which helps to synthesize their own materials. The leucoplast also helps in the storage of starch, proteins as well as oils. So it is a colorless plastids. So now we have studied about in detail what is plastids, where they are present, types of plastids, and finally the structure of plastids. Vacuoles. These are the storage sacs for solid or liquid content of the cell. So we know that vacuoles are small sized in the animal cell, but in the plant cells they are very large. Sometimes they occupy the space of 50 to 90% of the cell volume. The plant cells vacuoles are full of cell sap, and they provide turgidity as well as rigidity to the cell. Many substances of importance in the life of the plant cells are stored in the vacuoles, like amino acids, sugars, organic acids. In single-celled organisms, when you see, there are some vacuoles formed when taking nutrition. So that vacuoles are called as food vacuoles. They are temporary vacuoles formed. So they are called as food vacuole, example amoeba. And unicellular organisms, you can also find some of the type of the vacuoles which we call them as contractile vacuoles for expelling excess water as well as some waste from the cell. So this is all about vacuoles. So these are all some of the cell organelles which we have studied. So any doubts if you have, you can please post in the comment box and then you'll get a reply. And until now, if you are not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe, like it and share to all your friends. And if you want to know more about this each cell organelles, you can refer my other videos where we have in detail explanation of each cell organelles for higher classes. Thank you.